Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. This is our weekly news show where John and I go over the latest technology and developer news. How are you doing, John?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Holy cow, that's bright. I'm trying to get
Don't go into the light, Ed.
I know, right? Ooh, somebody messed with my lights while I was away from my desk earlier, I guess. It is a dark and gloomy day, so I was trying to brighten things up, not blind myself.
Well, it's still dark out here in Australia, so.
Yeah, what time in the morning is it for you, John? It's like 5 or 6 a.m.?
6 a.m.
Yikes. Yeah,
I'm a dad in my 40s. I get up well before this.
So it's 4 in the afternoon on Monday, and it is 6 a.m. for Tuesday for you.
Yep, we're living in the future.
Indeed you are, John. That's what makes you so such a good fit for the show. Is,
yeah, right.
You know things before they're going to happen. All right, John. I picked this article up off my Twitter feed. I thought this was a good case study. So somebody chose Blazor WebAssembly for their real business, scenario here, and this application is a like online video service.
Yes.
And this is powered for TV.
Yes.
And it's a UK on-demand video site for pro wrestling. And the team goes through a kind of comparison of what frameworks they had in mind, what drew them to Blazor versus something like Next.js, and a lot of it came down to things like tooling, and they talk about how they were able to use .NET and all of their favorite tooling to create an application for their company, and some of the pain points. They had to work around some small performance things, but migrating from .NET 3 to .NET 5 helped things out a lot. This is a really good read if you're planning on using Blazor and you want to know what the experience is like. It's a good example of a real-world deployed application as well. So yeah, this one is powered for TV, And I caught that on my Twitters, and it's up on Medium if you want to check that out. What do you think about that,
Yeah.
John?
I'd be interested to know why they felt they were trying to address the problem of the UI aspects around it. When I hit a video site like Netflix, etc., I'm not too worried about the UI itself. I'm more concerned about the availability of the video feed coming through, whether it's high quality or not, and the content that's available. And so I can't see them solving the former with a solution like Blazor, and as well as the latter with a solution like Blazor. But if they felt like it was difficult enough for them to build the UI that they found that using Blazor would solve their problems, great. But I would still say that people don't tend to worry about the UI too much when it comes to video streaming. The built-in controls, the sort of TiVo-like controls of saving, skipping, etc., I think are probably the most important. But ultimately, that comes down to setting up your global network of delivery, and then obviously your available content. So I'd be interested to know if they had any benefits of going to Blazor relative to their video integration. But yeah, good on them.
Yeah, it looks like they may have done a little bit of series on this. So, and it looks like they were on the .NET Community Stand-Up.
Oh, okay,
so
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure there's more to the story than this.
Yes.
If somebody's going to choose Blazor for their front end, I'm going to assume they're using something Azure related on the back end. And if you're
Okay.
talking video, you're probably serving up your video from Azure. Maybe you're already in a .NET stack. I'm just making assumptions here, but
Sure.
it says that the two working on the project are both .NET engineers.
Yes.
So I'd assume the back end is already written in
Based on
.NET as
developer
well.
productivity. Yeah, fair enough. This reminds me of the story around Silverlight. When it first came out, people were wondering why would you use Silverlight over, say, a client-side framework for JavaScript. And one of the real winning arguments for Silverlight at its time was the video compression that they offered for streamers. So people who were serving up content could use this high fidelity, high performance streaming codec. The fact that the runtime didn't work so well on non-Microsoft class devices was another issue as well. So it would be interesting if Blazor came out with something that would offer streaming. It was the same play, basically, but they would have to get it really, really right, I guess, if they wanted to do it that way for non-Microsoft platforms.
So I think the problem there is a lot of this is already being superseded by HTML5. So HTML5 is taking precedence over Flash and Silverlight and all those client streaming.
Still need a video
technologies.
codec, though. Still need a video codec of sorts.
Yeah,
So,
that's handled by the browsers these days.
yeah.
So
But you could do it theoretically in a WASM of some kind if you wanted.
Last time I looked, and this was quite a few years ago, I was building a similar platform for work. On the inside, we were building a learning management system. And I was trying to convince management that HTML5 was good enough and we didn't need all these special
Sure.
video codec technologies.
Sure.
So I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there's the
what
video
the
element,
ones
and that
are.
has those codecs are built into browsers, so they're
Yep.
typically added as plugins, etc., and they're for various codec standards. But you can embed, you could get an embedded sort of format as part of that. The problem with the video tag is that if you have a MIME type there that isn't supported or a codec that isn't supported, it just won't play it. That's why I have these fallbacks. So HTML5 is, yeah.
There's only two major browsers really these days anyway. They're really literally are. And I'm not joking that it is Safari, and the rest of them are built off of I'm trying to remember the name of the internals of Chrome and Edge these
It's
days.
V8. It's the JavaScript engine for Chrome, and then well, it really depends on what aspect of the browser you're talking about. So you've got the rendering engine, you've got the JavaScript engine, you've got all kinds of engines basically. So
Yeah, it's I'm thinking WebKit and what's the other one? There's the two main underlying projects for each of those.
Well,
things.
Edge has got Edge is using WebKit now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, so
Anyways.
they're basically just two things with other wrappers built around them. So there's not a whole lot of variation these days. And if you look at the HTML video formats, we've got Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. They all support MP4, WebM, and some of them support OGG. This was, I think this was a Firefox and Opera initiative, if I remember correctly. This is again.
Yeah,
going
there's
back to
also
the early days of
substandard.
this.
Yeah, like those are packaging formats for the video. Then there's encoding formats, which like H.264, etc. There's going to be different ones for that as well. So MPEG-4 is a meta sort of package for that, but it really comes down to the codecs, etc. I'm not a codec person expert myself, but I just know that if they're not there, your video doesn't play. So it'd be interesting to see why Blazor, or if Blazor could help. I don't know if it will, but it's an
I don't
interesting
think
space.
it adds anything to the video segment of this, but it helps with just general UI stuff and
Yep.
authentication and all the bits around getting into the service. But for the most part, video's been solved by HTML, in my opinion. Wasn't the case back in the day with Silverlight and that, though. That was one of the reasons
No.
we needed that stuff.
No, I remember during the Olympics, people were complaining about how Silverlight was like melting their CPU. So that was fun.
And here, we'll move to Silver just a bit, because they were talking about Next.js was their fallback if Blazor
Yes.
did not work out in that article. So tell us a little bit about Next.js 11.
Yeah, Next.js really simple. Next is a React framework, so it provides more than just a library. It's a framework. It's a way of building your React apps, and they provide structure and they provide a bunch of facilities around it. So everything from built-in capabilities to tooling to et cetera, et cetera. So Next.js 11 recently shipped, added a bunch of new features. Not going to bore you by reading the list, but Next is a really interesting project in terms of React development. Gives you an opinionated view of the world when it comes to React app development, and certainly is something that you can take advantage of if you wish. It's pretty popular, actually. Came up, kind of snuck up onto the scene a little bit, in my opinion. I noticed it initially, but it's just been basically iterating over and over again, and now they're up to version 11, and away you go.
Yeah, one thing that caught my eye with this release is Next.js Live preview release. It says code in the browser with your team in real time.
Yeah, I'm not sold on these features. I like hot reload, and I like that sort of capability, but as far as collaborating with your team, it's like, okay, to me the real challenge is getting the experience right. And I don't think anyone's gotten it right yet. I don't think the Visual Studio Code team has gotten it perfect. I don't know if Next team has gotten it right. But I find these experiences can be frustrating from time to time when you pair with people.
Yeah,
So it'll
Live
be interesting to
Shares
see.
had its fair, no pun intended, share of its own issues. I've tried to use it a few times on stream
Yeah.
while we're doing events and stuff, and we always have connection issues, and it's not quite there yet, but it's promising. And I plan on trying it again, but there's always an update for that thing, so it's always.
This is the new
being
video codec problem.
iterated on. Yeah, it is. It's I think there's plenty of room for that type of tooling, and when it gets to be more mature, it'll be good. But in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of growing pains, no matter which one you're using, if it's this or Live Share or something like it.
Yeah, sharing annotations are great. Don't get me wrong. So you can do this in Zoom, you can do this in Teams, you can do this in a lot of different sort of sharing applications. It's when it's built into a code environment where people can possibly code at the same time that I'm like, not so sure. But yeah, these annotation things are fine. There's nothing wrong with this.
Very cool.
There's nothing wrong. That's
stuff.
such a loaded statement. There's nothing wrong with this.
So I caught this one. It looks like Tailwind version 2.2 is coming. I personally don't use Tailwind or Bootstrap very much anymore these days, But I can see a need for this type of thing, and there are a lot of things coming in the latest release for this one. Um, there were some interesting things in this demo reel that they did. It's about 20 minutes long. There's that much new content coming. And there's a lot of like pseudo selector stuff that they're working with in this that I thought was kind of neat. I wonder if I can catch the still of this real fast and show you what they're talking about. So they're doing a lot with like selecting the first letter
Sure.
in the sentence, selecting the first sentence itself, changing different color aspects based on where the words are at in the sentence. That I thought was pretty cool. So you get selectors like this that are first line, and then you can change the color, first letter, and so on. So I thought that was pretty neat. There's a lot of stuff that revolves around that in this release.
Nice.
A lot of shorthand stuff. There was also something in here which I don't know if it's powering that exactly, but they have a just-in-time compiler tool or mode that they've released, and they're building upon that. So this is something I think is pretty cool. I need to read a little bit more about it. But then again, I don't really care for this stuff myself. Again, not saying that you shouldn't use it if you're listening, but I personally don't like all of these very verbose HTML attributes that you have to add to make things work when I could just write CSS. And a lot of this stuff reminded me of inline styles the more I look at it.
Sure.
And it makes your HTML very, very heavy.
Yeah.
For example here, this is a great example of what I was trying to say. This is all just tacked onto a div class, and check out all of these inline. I mean, it might as well be an inline style at this point. I mean, you're setting the color, you're setting the background and things like that, and you're just kind of trading off CSS for HTML at this point. You might as well throw it in an inline style if you're going to go through all that effort. But that's just me.
Yeah, fair enough. It's tough. My sympathies go out to the team trying to build this stuff in, because there are going to be requirements from customers who say, I want to have it inline. There are going to be other people who say, just put it into one file and then crunch it. Yeah, it's tough.
Yep. Or you could just learn CSS. I mean, CSS is getting to be quite versatile and simplified these days. Learn a little bit more about CSS Grid and Flexbox. You're able to just do a lot more layouts and things. But anyway, Tailwind is moving along. They're adding a lot of cool things, it looks like. And the just-in-time compiler looks like it might be something to check out and just see what they're doing with it. Maybe there's uses outside of the Tailwind ecosystem even to use something like that with a CSS pipeline. Sounds pretty interesting. Github Desktop 2.9.
Yes. It's a little Git client that could. Yes. So there's lots of ways to enact with Git. There's a variety of CLIs. There's utilities. You can use Kraken as an example. GitHub Desktop is the one from GitHub, and it allows you to perform a variety of operations. Probably not as richly supported in terms of operations as, say, a CLI tool would be, but having a visual experience can help some people. So GitHub Desktop has recently been updated, adds support for a variety of new capabilities like squashing and reordering commits, being able to do selective merging. I believe there was cherry picking added in version 2.7. So there's lots of capabilities that have been added to the tool. And if you're a fan of using tools like a desktop application, you can use this. This runs cross-platform, so this runs on Linux, Macs, and Windows. And, it's a good tool. I think it's a good tool. It's a good enough tool for folks who are maintaining source projects on GitHub. And so something worth checking out.
Yeah, I use it from time to time if I need to manage something in Git. You can see I've got mine here. If I need to manage something a bit larger than like a demo project and stuff, I'll swap over to this to get a better look at things. It's a pretty handy thing to have Even if you're not in it daily for your normal Git workflows, you run
Yes.
into like a merge or something like that, some type of merge conflict. Gives you another way to look at the data, and you get some nice GUI representations of things. Sometimes Git can be a little abstract when you're working in the command line to try to wrap your head around
Sure.
how different things are forked in different nodes and what commit you're on and all that stuff. And Visual Studio as well has some other
Yes.
additional tools in it that are coming along nicely too. So the more of these, the happier I am, because there's more than one way to skin a cat with this type of stuff.
That's such a weird expression. I never understood that. I know where it comes from. I just don't know why it's been so popular.
There's a lot of is it Michael Che that's got the stand-up routine about all that? I'll have to share it with you offline. It is a
All right.
NSFW conversation,
Okay.
but it's a fun one. We got some folks joining chat as well, so hello if you're watching from Facebook or Twitch or YouTube. John and I come from this line of work, this developer advocacy stuff that we do, and it's a job that I really enjoy. And I would assume you do too, John, since you've been in this role for quite some time. We have a shared acquaintance, Chris Heilman, and he's written a book. He's written a book. I think he's updated a book that he had previously written. But it's an online HTML-based book, so it's free to go visit and read. And he basically talks about what you do as a developer advocate and what some of the day-to-day tasks are and that type of thing. And if you're interested in doing this type of work, this is a really great place to learn and start.
Yes. So yeah, this book is considered one of the top resources, like the Bible, if you're doing anything with promotion or advocacy or evangelism. Christian put out this book quite a while ago, and so he's finally updated it, which is great. I say finally because it obviously any sort of reference books needs to be updated like this. When I say references, I mean it's in terms of tips and tricks, and I see it as that. Developer advocacy, however, doesn't have to be isolated to a job role. It can certainly apply to your role within an organization. So if you're a program manager, a product manager, you're an engineer, these are skills that are important to have. And I think, unfortunately, our industry tends to suffer from this idea that if you're an engineer, you should just be living in the dark like a mushroom and shouldn't have any communication with other organic life forms and just work on the code and get commits, etc. Oftentimes that is too ineffective to enact change within an organization. And in order to get what you want, to compel others to see your side of things in terms of solving a problem, that's going to require advocacy. So a site like this is great to give you a leg up on how to deliver a message, how to convince others of, technical arguments, how to sway and convince others of, design changes you want to see or architectural changes you want to see. So it is another tool in your toolbox that you could certainly add to becoming a better, more effective person within your organization. It's all about effectiveness. Ultimately, you want to be able to get what you are looking for in a more timely fashion. And so that's the definition of effectiveness. And so this will help you get there.
Yeah, brushing up on your presentation skills, like you said, helps not only in this profession, but whatever line of software development, or it doesn't even really have to even be software, but
Yep.
for the context of this conversation, a lot of folks that are watching and listening are either program managers or software devs or engineers, coders, you name it. And there's a lot of things on here that really help regardless of your interest in that role, as you said.
Yes.
Like writing excellent code examples. You're trying to convince your team or your boss, why we should jump over to C#9 or Blazor or whatever it is. You can put together some code examples and follow some of the advice in the book here. And not only that, but there's also something in here about preparing a great slide deck for presentations. Again, doesn't have to pertain to being a developer advocate, just being a good presenter. And everybody probably has a monthly or weekly stand-up that they have to go to and maybe talk about what they've worked on for the week.
Yep.
These are all a checklist that you could go through to help make those stand-ups go smoother and kind of stand out a little bit better. And I guarantee you, if you were to read through some of these things and take this advice, then within a couple months to a year, you'll probably start standing out above your team and be up for promotions and raises and things like that. Because these things tend to, when I say these things, I mean like some of the stuff that's outlined here, and they tend to make you a better, for lack of a better term, a better advocate for things at work, but they tend to make you noticed by management and stakeholders and things like that as somebody who can communicate well and get things done. And it's going to help you convince your peers that you deserve more money within your organization.
I can hear some developers' thoughts when they're seeing this and like, why would I need to? So what? What's the worst that could happen? You get better at being an advocate for yourself and your team. So go read it. Go apply those lessons. They're good.
Yeah. Just my own personal experience with this is when I started I didn't have this book. It would have been extremely handy. But just from, people that I know kind of mentoring me, for lack of a better term, showing me, or just me learning from going to conferences and learning from other speakers and advocates and things like that, applying these things while I was at work, it changed the point of view from the powers to be that I was no longer expendable. I could go work literally anywhere I want because the way that I could communicate what I was working on was very effective. So over the course of about 3 years, I doubled my salary. So that's probably not going to be a rule for everybody, but it's just kind of my anecdotal version of what this can be used for. And then I ended up grabbing a role here at Progress, which I enjoy even more than what I was doing before. So great place to look, learn some new skills. So cheers to Chris for putting that out.
Mm-hmm.
What a great resource for the community. Speaking of great resources and people I've learned things from, Steve Smith, or R. Dallas, he's got a podcast, and it's not like your normal podcast. So this is a pretty interesting take on kind of like a spoken, like blog type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he does these 6 minute podcasts, and he talks about very concise like code problems or best practices and things like that. And they're also in show notes and transcripts. So you do get the readable version as well. So this is just one example. This is the latest, or no, it's not the latest tweet he sent out. He's been doing this for quite a while. It says 2017. But you can go back and listen to some of these. This one, he must have been talking about on his Twitch or something, because he just tweeted this morning. But I just wanted to point out that these are out there, and he's got a bunch of them, and they're really great learning tools. And
cool.
I mean, look at this. He's up to episode 74. So there's some interviews and things in here, but there's those short little bites in there as well. So
nice.
make sure you go check out R. Dallas or weeklydevtips.com is where you can find all the podcasty stuff that he's got out there. So that's
Neat.
always a good resource for folks. All right, John, what do you think? There's
I don't know.
This new
We'll
Windows
find out.
event
Yes.
coming up on the 24th, which is what, Wednesday? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday. Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, there's a mysterious Microsoft event. That's all it's coined, is a Microsoft event. And it looks by the graphic that they're going to be talking about Windows. The tweet that they sent out earlier had a extreme close-up of somebody's ear with nothing in it, like no device in it. So I'm very confused. Like, what are we doing?
Maybe they're reintroducing the Zune. I don't know.
If this was 2020 and you said that, I'd be like, sure. Why not? The Zune's coming back. Some people are saying Windows 10 is going to be Windows 11.
Sure,
And
I've
there's
heard
a
that.
new OS leak that dropped, and it looked very fruit based. Looked like very Apple-y. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what this is about yet. I've only heard rumors of things I just mentioned. Maybe we'll get the Windows Phone back. Who knows? I really doubt that's going to happen, but that would be awesome if it did. Yeah, who knows?
There's not much to say about this other than the fact like Windows probably could use a little bit of spit and polish. I think there's, despite the fact that Windows has been around for so long, there are still some disjointed experiences within it that could be improved. And slowly but surely, they've been adding not capabilities, but like improvements to Windows where, they've redesigned the calculator and they've redesigned the settings panel and they've redesigned this and that. But it still seems to me like if you want to, you can certainly see the underpinnings of where this came from pretty easily and quickly. And so I would say that a perfect example right in front of us, right? Like these sorts of dialogues, these sorts of integrations, I think it certainly seems like they've gone 1, 2, 3 levels deep, but I think they could go a little bit deeper. So I'm hoping to see that. I don't know in terms of innovation what else they can do. It seems like Apple does this really right, and I hate to do this all the time, but Apple seems to get that seamless end-to-end story well. They get that really well done, whereas Microsoft is a bit disjointed in terms of that approach. And so I understand the motivations why Microsoft is all about backwards compatibility, etc. And so, and they've got the enterprise that they've got to concern themselves with, etc., etc. So there are some competing concerns. However, at the same time, it certainly seems like Microsoft could go a little bit deeper in terms of some of these things. I think that their OS does look a little dated as well. I know it sounds weird to say that, but it certainly seems like Windows could be a little bit cleaner, a little bit better in terms of where things are. It certainly feels like much more of a PC than, say, alternatives do. And I think that's really where we need to get. We need to raise again the level of abstraction one more level in order to make computers a little bit easier to use. That's my take on it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled this up for a reason, and you commented on it pretty good here, John. So this is an experience you run into quite frequently across Windows. And here I've got, quote, apps and features, which is the new version of what you see on the right, which was previously called programs and features.
Yes.
And then, like, I have the dark mode here.
Yeah.
But the panel for this version is still in light mode. They basically do the same function, but depending on what prompts you to get here, you will get one version or the other.
Yeah.
So to somebody that hasn't used Windows PCs their entire life, this could probably and most definitely be pretty jarring. If you're like, I need to uninstall a program, and you're clicking around on something, and I won't actually uninstall Camtasia because it's a wonderful product. But if I click uninstall, look what one it navigated me to.
Sure.
But
yeah, it's kind of like pick a lane,
Yeah.
Like let's go. Like
if I'm in search and I say uninstall or add and remove programs, it starts coming up as I type uninstall.
Yeah.
Then I get the dark version. It's like, it's very, very confused.
Yeah, and I think that Windows also suffers from just general sort of cohesiveness. I think there have been numerous attempts to try and do this, and I think what's happened is internally, I'm only speculating here, so please don't take this as gospel, but I can only speculate that you have competing teams within Microsoft because you get these various design languages that come out like Fluent or, I don't want to go through the whole list, but like you get these different design experiences that come out. Sometimes some teams buy in, other teams don't, for good reason as well. I mean, it's a bit of an expensive endeavor to try and go down the route of supporting this stuff. But what you need is you need a mandate from down high that says, listen, this is the direction we're going. Every app needs to go in this direction. Get on board, and we're going to provide a cohesive experience. And furthermore to that, apps themselves need to be cohesive and integrated with each other as well. Too often times you see these apps that are just not compatible with what I'm talking about within Windows itself. And I don't know. I think that slimming down Windows, trimming the fat, I think it's time to start exploring maybe an alternative. Windows has always been sort of complementary or additive. It might be worthwhile taking stuff away to try and slim it down. I don't know. I'm speculating, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on the live stream.
We've got some good comments in chat here. Like Rocketman says phone dialers making a comeback.
Sure. Why not?
And then we have Windows 11 Cloud Edition, like Chromebook, like competition.
Should I do my
like
spit
Chrome
take
OS.
here? Where I'm like doing a mid sip. So
Womp, womp, womp.
yeah. I don't know if making an internet only device is in the interest of anyone, to be honest. I think you need an OS that's pretty beefy. I think Chrome OS is okay, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's frustrating in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I personally liked the Windows Phone. Whether it makes good desktop or not, I'm not sure. I'm probably one of the few holdouts that actually likes the tile start experience. If you kind of have your work groups lined up, it's
Sure.
a nice thing to have. I saw a thing on the video that leaked of what is supposedly the next Windows build, and what they do with the taskbars, they like center it here,
Yeah.
like it's centered on Mac. I do not like that. I personally, if they move it there, what I'm going to do is go back to putting it on my left-hand side where I used to have it.
Yeah.
Because that is actually one of the most efficient ways to use a taskbar, in my opinion. I'm trying to think, is it Ubuntu that has the side taskbar as well?
Oh, I'm sure it does. Yeah, there are various desktop managers on Linux as well.
Yeah.
So
So
the problem
this
with some of these is that they're not very touch friendly, some of them. And it's kind of like that situation. You ever been in that situation where you've got a bunch of friends who don't get along and you're in the middle trying to make everyone happy? That's Windows. Windows is trying to make everyone happy at the moment with touch and with mobile and with desktop and with power users and with non-power users and with the enterprise. And it's like, guys, like at some point we've got to just say, look, this is the standard. We're going ahead with this. And be opinionated about it, and don't worry about pissing off a few folks maybe if they feel like it's the right approach. I mean, I think the problem is that Microsoft's been doing this for so long. This approach of, we'll support everything and everyone, that's what people come to expect, and so I think they're kind of stuck with that approach. Maybe, I don't know. Again, speculating. Totally don't have any information otherwise, but I don't know if they need to change things up. I think they're in a tough spot because you have customer expectations. You've got, what are you trying to innovate on, et cetera, et cetera. So, and to be honest, I think Windows is a bit. I don't know if it's really like the exciting thing for Microsoft anymore. Like certainly, I think if you were to maybe poll people within Microsoft, they would say Azure is the most exciting place to be right now because there's so much innovation going on there, and that's understandable. I don't know so much about Windows, like in terms of like whether or not they see like maybe the OS is done. I don't know. Like I'm like that's probably a very ignorant statement. Like I'm sure it's not, but does it do everything we need? Yeah, pretty much. As everyone's doing their job. So is this where all the trouble lies? Like all the big problems lie in the OS? I don't think so. I think cloud is where a lot of the interesting problems lie because we still can't seem to get that right. So. there's a lot of competing sort of concerns here, I think. So we'll see what happens. I'd be very interested to see what they announce. I have no insight. Again, I've said that 3 times now. But I'll be interested to see I would like to see something of a strong opinion come from Microsoft where they're like, listen, this is where we see things going. This is where we're going, etc.
They're going to be like, we're going back to Windows ME, guys. Sorry.
That's right. Remember Clippy? He's back.
So, Windows.
That'd be awesome if they did an homage to Clippy. That'd be hilarious.
I wish they would stop with this numbering thing and just say Windows and not do Windows 11.
I thought they did that, though. They did that. Everyone called it Windows 10. Yeah, I know, but everyone called it Windows 10, but they always said this is the last version you're ever going to need. Are you saying just drop the number altogether and just call it Windows?
Just call it Windows.
Yeah.
Do we say Chrome? What version of Chrome are you on?
I know. The problem with that is that you got IT support and enterprise, and they're like, what version are you running? And yeah.
It still has a version, but the
know.
end users don't care. IT can care all they want, and it's right there in, whatever help thing or dialogue you want to pull it up in.
Aside from, sorting algorithms and, naming things, there are tough problems in computer science. Versioning is the new, numbering, is the new naming problem in computer science, I guess. It's tough. Versioning is a tough problem.
Yeah, it is. Clippy, just a little off topic here. We were talking about Clippy, and I actually spotted Clippy. So he's not in Redmond anymore. He moved I live in Louisville. I don't know how many people watching live in Louisville, but I live in Louisville, and Clippy moved to Louisville. So he got a new job. He moved to Louisville. He works for the Precision Garage Door Services.
Oh my God.
And, he's kind of taken on a new form in his new role as a garage door mascot.
As a shock absorber.
Yeah. So
tough times for Clippy. He's gone from the software industry to becoming a shock absorber. Sorry, Clippy.
He's retired.
I used to help people with their computer problems. I don't know what happened.
He's moved to the rural landscapes of Kentucky.
Perfect.
And, he's working with the Precision Garage Door folks. So.
Oh, that's garage door. Excuse me. I thought it was cars.
Yeah.
Sorry. There you go.
Garage doors.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a garage door spring.
Wow.
But very, very Clippy-like.
All right.
Maybe it's his hillbilly cousin. I don't know, but definitely some Clippy vibes there.
All right.
So little free plug for Precision Garage Doors for all your garage door needs. Let's took the show down a notch. How many people are still watching this?
Yes.
We need Microsoft Bob back. That's what we need.
Sure.
All right. So this is my opinion on this opinion piece, is that this is a hit piece. This was a highly opinionated piece on an AI drive-through. And, I don't want to see people put out of work. I don't want to see people displaced from jobs.
Okay.
But this author, I think, is using this platform to kind of like protest these type of things more than it is
All right.
a fair take on what they witnessed. But there's some things in the article that you can read for yourself and see what kind of opinion you form on their opinion. But some of it is so nitpicky. So the idea here is they're testing out. I keep getting ads instead of graphics here. There's not a lot of pictures here. When you go to McDonald's, they've kind of standardized this kiosk style menu, and they use it on the inside when you order.
Yes.
John's like, I've never been in a McDonald's. I don't eat that crap. But
actually, I've been in McDonald's, and I've used those kiosks many times. I've seen them crash too, which is great.
Yeah, they're actually Windows ME. No, they're Windows though. They are Windows. They're like an embedded Windows OS, I think. But they're like a giant vertical board, and you can touch them and
Yes.
make your order. The same experience as outdoors. When you pull through the drive-through, instead of you touching it, they're basically doing that on their system inside, and you can see, kind of your order being created on the big menu. So they've kind of taken, these things used to be like just a printed graphic that they'd throw up there in backlight to now something that's very technical and interactive. And it's going to keep evolving, and it looks like they've gotten to the point where they want to have like a Siri type of experience where you just talk to the kiosk from your car. I see this as kind of a natural evolution of things. The kiosks brought pretty heavy protests.
You mean unnatural? Sorry.
Okay.
I had to. This is an unnatural evolution.
It's a
de-evolution
of technical stuff. It's an
Sure.
evolution of humankind,
Sure.
maybe not, John. However you want to look at that side of the coin. But we got these kiosks in the restaurant, and basically it's the same thing without the robot voice. Why not have one on the outside that you can talk to like you do your Siri in your kitchen or your your smart home, basically. So that's the idea behind it.
This is totally not going to work. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a rant here. First of all, this isn't AI. I hate the fact that people keep using this term AI. This isn't AI. This is just basically, this is like taking the phone experience and putting it into a front store drive-through. This is not gonna work well, and I think that people are going to hate this. And I know this because people don't like to order, like if you're ordering the standard cheeseburger, etc., fine. But I've seen it too often times where, because I have kids and I go through drive-thrus, and I've seen people in front of me and behind me. You can hear them; they're yelling at the operator, the human operator. No, I want this. Don't give me pickles, etc. Would you like fries with that? This thing's gonna take too long to order through. I don't know. I'm willing to change my mind, but having dealt with these phone operators, these automated phone operators, where people are just getting so frustrated because they're pressing 0 and they're like, just give me the operator because obviously you don't understand. I'm sorry. Did you say you wanted 10,000 cheeseburgers? If correct, press 1. And it's like, you think this is going to work for an ordering system, especially with food, which people are emotionally attached to? We feel bad enough that we're ordering fast food. It's like now we're having dealing with a robot. How impersonal can you make it? I don't see this being successful, but that's my opinion.
So we've got this kind of two different positions in my own house. So I will do the kiosk. I really don't care. When I order something out, I generally order it at face value. Like give me the thing. If I don't want onions on it, I'll pick the damn onions off. I don't need you to customize the thing. It's I'm paying $4 for a hamburger. It's not like I'm out fine dining. My wife, on the other hand, she will order the most elaborate thing to the point where the cashier looks down and goes, I don't even know how to ring that up. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're asking for anymore.
Sure.
So like usually a manager comes out and there's a conversation about stuff and things get added and taken away and prices change, and then she's not happy with whatever it is anyway. That's our house. So for the me percent, I could go through the drive-through, and if Alexa's on the other side of this thing, that's fine with me. Like I'm just there for the number whatever, and give it to me. It's not the end of the world if it's wrong. I will fix it myself. If it is my wife at the drive-through, there better be like a burger surgeon on the other side of this thing, because they're about to get hit with some unspeakable order that they've never seen before. There's no button on that register to ring up the thing the way that she asked for it. We've been down this road. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta find the picture of this sometime. My wife ordered a Big Mac to the point where she got a bowl of salad with all of the ingredients on top. And I still to this day don't know what the heck she did to get that. Yeah. But it was good. It was a good laugh. but that's not some kind of order that you're gonna send through an AI to get. So I think
Yeah.
what you'll probably see is these things transition from like there's a person in waiting for like the AI to go throw its hands up and go, the you don't like the term AI, but it's loosely based on AI is the voice recognition technology, basically.
Uh-huh.
So the program is going to throw its hands up at some point when my wife comes through the drive-through, and then it's going to fall back to a real person that then pipes in at the last second, and they're like, "Hang on,
Sure.
let me help you with whatever it was you're trying to do," because nobody else in the entire universe orders a burger that way.
Yeah, I don't see this being successful, but that's me.
So,
These things are hard to write in the best of times. I mean, look how complicated the menu is for the in-app experience or the kiosk experience. Now you're going to drive that with voice and through people who don't intimately know the menu. Imagine like, yeah, give me a cheeseburger and don't give me any of those flippin' pickles, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're trying to process this as a computer. It's not going to work. I don't know. But anyway.
yeah.
I think we can leave it there. I
I
think
know
we can
the
leave it
types
there. I
that
think
will break this system.
Sure. Yeah,
So-
and me being a bit of a curmudgeon that I am, I would probably walk up to this thing and test it myself just by giving it complicated instructions just to see what it does. I would like to see this just to observe. I'd like to sit there with like just my hand on my chin, just watching people order through this thing, and to see how many people flip out and ask for an operator or
As for not
I can see a lot of people screaming I see a lot of screaming into megaphones where people are like, I said, give me blah, 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 sort of thing.
give me my food.
Yes.
Oh man. Yes. I love.
It's hard enough for humans to communicate. Now we're trying to get computers to do it. And we're trying to tell computers what to do. This is such a mismatch of things, and the problem with computers is that they'll amplify any mistakes you make. So it's like, you have ordered 10,000 cheeseburgers, sort of thing. Please proceed to the next window to pay. And you're like, what? Wait, no, undo, sort of thing.
You are an unfit mother.
I don't know, whatever. So.
You've seen you know the reference, don't you?
No, I don't actually, but I can imagine.
Idiocracy.
So. Oh, okay.
Idiocracy. The woman walks up and she's won whatever, and it's like you have no money, and she's arguing with the machine.
I always make that joke. If I check my voicemail, it says you have 0 friends, and that's what I always say. But anyways.
She's arguing about whatever thing she ordered, and it's trying to tell her bank account's at 0, and they're screaming back and forth, and the kiosk is like, "You're an unfit mother. The police have been notified," and they immediately arrest her. Wonderful movie if you haven't seen it. So I cannot find. I'm scrolling through images as we
I think
talk.
this is a good thing that we just move on from this.
I've got one last story. So I don't remember what she orders, right? So my wife orders this thing. And it comes out. She orders a Big Mac. She's trying to get less bun because she can't pull the middle bun off and toss it. She's got to have to make it without the middle bun.
So she wants the middle bun removed. She wants basically a double cheeseburger.
Yeah. But she's convoluted order goes in.
Sure.
Burger salad comes.
Salad comes out. Yep.
She gets this. They just literally give up. They throw it all in a bowl, and put a little. One of those little plastic orb containers.
Yes.
Bring it out to the table. I'm dying laughing because we just watched a documentary about McDonald's the weekend before this. And, the concept of the documentary is, that these two brothers, they shut down the restaurant for 3 months while they go through all of these ideas of how to make their restaurant the most efficient one that's ever been established. And they actually went out to a tennis court, and one brother got up in the judge's chair and he's looking down, and the other one's like using chalk to like draw the restaurant, and then they get
Right,
down
right.
and they like try to pretend to make burgers. They spend months on this thing, and they finally launch it. And I'm like, if you were their first customer, like, they're expecting someone to walk up to the window and be like, I want a cheeseburger, and they get it in like 30 seconds and they're out the door,
Uh-huh.
and it's like rave reviews. Instead, my wife shows up and she's like, I want a burger, but, and
Yes.
like they get
It's like that
this
scene out of The Fly where Jeff Goldblum goes into the transport and then he comes out like all messed up because a fly gets in there. It's
Yeah.
the same thing, basically. This is the Fly equivalent of ordering food, and you're gonna get these monstrosities coming out. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm in tears laughing when this thing comes out, and she's like, "What's so funny?" And I'm like, "I'm picturing you as the first customer to McDonald's the
Oh,
day
yeah.
they open up after their 3 months of perfecting."
Yeah,
this
they're
model.
following the flow chart. They're like, what do you mean no middle bun? There is no middle bun option.
And then you walk up, and they literally just slam the window shut and go out of business. And they're like, F
Sure.
it, I'm done. This is a bad idea. And there is a timeline now where there is no McDonald's because of you. And
Yes.
she's like, you're such a nerd.
This
And I'm
this
like,
is the
"You're
challenge
the one that
with
ordered the thing."
Yes, this is the challenge with voice-driven apps, is the fact that there's no interface on your voice. There's no restrictions in terms of what you can say. This is why user interfaces work, because they're like, look, we got the one button and the one drop down. That's all you got. And so either pick one or get out of here. Whereas voice is like, no, like, let me tell you a story about my food. And then the computer has to work out what the hell you're trying to say. So, it's tough. And it just it just lifts up these words out that it understands. And that's why these phone message things, like, it sounds like you want to order a burger. Is that correct? And whatever. Anyways, I think we've done this topic enough.
Yes, we have done the topic. And I will find that picture, and we will bring this topic up again, though, because
Good.
the thing is hilarious, man. I mean, I guess I
Sure.
described it good enough. It is a bowl of shredded lettuce with a, hamburger laying on top, and then sauce like smeared around it, and
Perfect.
pickles just randomly tossed in there. It's like, what did you do? So, finally, I guess this is, where my nerd humor goes. I just talked about an alternate universe where there's no McDonald's because my wife was the first order. Might as well talk about Rick and Morty, right?
Yes. So
Was that an attempt
new
at
season.
Rick? Or did you have something in your throat?
No, excuse me. Sorry, I was coughing. No, new season. First episode now on YouTube, uncensored, and I watched it last night and giggled a little bit. I thought it was funny. So for those who haven't watched Rick and Morty before, it's a bit out there. I certainly would be careful watching it with your kids. However,
Yeah,
if
like
you're if you have a, I'll use a food reference now. If you have a palate for a certain type of comedy that's animated, this might be something worth checking out. So,
If you can
we're up to
handle
season 5 now.
South
So if you've
Park
never watched it,
or-
if you haven't watched it before, you can certainly play some of the previous seasons, and it's quite out there. It's I have to say, first time I watched it, I'm like, wow, this is definitely painting outside the lines of what you would typically see in a comedy. This is not laugh track sitcom stuff. This is esoteric, weird. This is the types of jokes that you and your friends might talk about when you're just sitting around with nothing better to do. And it's that sort of offside type comedy that's present. This is very typical for the Comedy Network and Adult Swim and all that sort of stuff. It's the edges of where your mind would go, unfiltered. So, and it's just animated. So if you like that sort of thing, I would say give it a shot. But watch it on your own and then make your choice whether or not you want to share it with others. So.
Yeah, the episode, as soon as it started, I knew exactly where it was going. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious because we had just had a similar conversation about some socks that went missing at the house. And my 14-year-old daughter's like, she's like, Mom, whenever you wash my socks, like, I don't get any back. She's like, where are they going, Narnia? And I thought that
Yes.
was pretty funny. So we had this discussion around where socks go, and then we turn this on, and the first thing they talk about
Is
is
they make a
this
reference to
portal
Narnia?
and make a
Yes.
reference to Narnia. And it goes downhill from there. And I'm like, this is wonderful. This is just nerd bliss right now. And if you like this, you have to check out Solar Opposites as well. That's another like very geeky show. But again, if you think Rick and Morty is distasteful, then you definitely won't like Solar Opposites because it's even more kind of out there and absurd and pretty vulgar.
It's
But
hilarious. As soon as you go
Solar
animated,
Opposites
you
is
can say
hilarious.
anything you want. As soon as it's like pictures and cartoons, it's like you're okay to say anything.
Yeah.
I find it very funny.
And then circling back to the fast food, one more time, we have to go back to fast food. It's not McDonald's this time, but apparently Wendy's hooked up with the Rick and Morty team and turned some of their restaurants from Wendy's to Morty's over the weekend to celebrate the release. And
Awesome.
they did some kind of reorganizing. They rebranded some of their cups and things.
Wow.
They had like a special menu. It was really neat, like some of the videos that came out of it. But I love to see them do a tie-in with a very adult-themed show and kind of embrace that. So good on them. McDonald's did it last year, but they kind of like didn't really officially do anything.
The Szechuan
They kind of
sauce.
hinted, yeah, they kind of hinted that they were doing something, but they didn't like really say like aloud, like they in writing, like this is for Rick and Morty. It was kind of like a nod to them more than anything. But this time there was
Yeah.
a official kind of co-marketing thing happening here. I thought that was
Gotcha.
really cool.
Hmm.
All right, John. Before we get taken off the air, we better leave things as they are.
So yeah, make sure you
But
tune into that live event for next version of Windows. Should be interesting. I'll be very interested to see what Microsoft decides to do there. And yeah, hope everyone stays safe. And it looks like everything's kind of opening up now in the States, which is great to see. Your vaccination rates are great. It's great to see. I'm watching an ice hockey, obviously, because the playoffs are on, and it's great to see the crowds. So yeah, I hope you guys continue the trends, and soon we'll be hanging out at Rick and Morty themed McDonald's and enjoying
ordering
everything that life has to offer.
ordering a Big Mac salad through the AI chat.
That's right.
One last thing before we go, we have shows here all week long, but tonight in particular, Samba Sue is hosting the Columbus Meetup, and I am the speaker talking about Blazor. So come back in an hour. We'll be here again. And then all week long we have shows about React, Angular, JavaScript. We're teaching Alyssa.net. We have virtual reality, Xamarin, Maui, the whole 9 yards. So hit follow, subscribe, whatever, and tune in all week. John, any final words?
Nah, I just go Islanders, go Habs. That's an esoteric reference to hockey, but there you go.
All right. This is Code It Live. Have a good week.
See ya.